Right now, beneath your feet, there's a civilization running the most sophisticated agricultural operation on Earth. They've been perfecting it for over 50 million years, long before humans even existed. These farmers don't use plows or pesticides, yet they feed colonies of millions with precision that would make modern agriculture blush. They are leafcutter ants, and what they've accomplished should be impossible for a brain smaller than a pinhead. If you're ready to have your mind blown by nature's greatest agricultural mystery, hit that like button, and let's dive deep into this underground empire. Watch a leafcutter ant colony in action, and you'll witness something that defies logic. Streams of ants march through the forest like tiny lumberjacks, each carrying a piece of leaf many times their body weight. Picture this, an ant weighing as much as a paperclip carrying a leaf fragment equivalent to a human hauling a full-size mattress above their head while running a marathon. But here's the twist that stumped scientists for decades. These ants don't eat the leaves they harvest. They can't even digest them. Instead, these leaves feed something far more extraordinary. Deep in their underground cities, spanning areas larger than basketball courts, the ants cultivate gardens of fungus, not just any fungus, but a species that exists nowhere else on Earth. This fungus has been domesticated so completely that it has lost the ability to reproduce on its own. It depends entirely on the ants, just as the ants depend entirely on it. This is agriculture at a level of sophistication that makes human farming look primitive by comparison. Imagine if corn could only survive in human-built greenhouses, and humans could only survive by eating that exact strain of corn. Now imagine this relationship has been maintained perfectly for 50 million years without a single crop failure. That's the reality of leafcutter ant agriculture. The process begins when worker ants select specific leaves, but not randomly. They taste test hundreds of plant species, somehow knowing which ones will promote healthy fungus growth and which contain compounds that could poison their crops. Scientists have discovered that ants can detect chemical signatures in leaves that indicate the presence of secondary metabolites, natural pesticides that plants use to defend themselves. These chemical sensors are so sensitive, they can detect toxin concentrations that would require expensive laboratory equipment for humans to identify. Each ant is essentially a living, walking chemistry lab. They can distinguish between leaves from the same tree that have different nutritional profiles based on factors like age, sun exposure, and stress levels. A young leaf might have different chemical compounds than an older one from the same branch, and the ants know this instinctively. They can even detect when a plant is under attack by other insects and avoid harvesting from stressed vegetation. The communication system that coordinates this massive operation is equally mind-boggling. Ants lay down chemical trails that contain information about leaf quality, distance to food sources, and even traffic conditions on different routes. These pheromone highways can convey dozens of different messages simultaneously. It's like having GPS, Yelp reviews, and traffic reports all encoded in a single invisible chemical signature. But the most fascinating aspect of their communication is how they solve problems collectively. When scouts discover a new food source, they don't just mark a trail, they encode information about the quality of leaves, the difficulty of harvesting, and even the optimal time of day to visit that location. Other ants can read these chemical messages and make informed decisions about whether to follow the trail or continue searching elsewhere. Once the leaves reach the colony, they undergo processing that would impress any industrial chemist. Smaller worker ants, specialized for this exact task, chew the leaves into a precise mulch, neither too wet nor too dry. The consistency must be perfect, like a baker knowing exactly how much moisture bread dough needs. They mix this pulp with their own fecal matter, which contains digestive enzymes that break down the plant cellulose into nutrients the fungus can absorb. This process is far more sophisticated than it initially appears. The ants are essentially creating a custom fertilizer blend, adjusting the enzyme cocktail based on the specific leaves being processed. Different plant species require different treatments, and the ants somehow know exactly which enzymes to add for optimal fungus nutrition. It's biochemical engineering that human agriculture is only beginning to understand. But the real magic happens in the fungus gardens themselves. The ants maintain these underground farms with obsessive precision, monitoring temperature and humidity levels that must remain within incredibly narrow ranges. Think of the most precise climate-controlled laboratory you can imagine, then realize that ants achieve this level of environmental control using only their bodies and behavior. They remove competing microorganisms, trim the fungus to promote growth, and even apply what can only be described as organic pesticides. The temperature regulation alone is a marvel of bioengineering. Ants position themselves strategically throughout the colony, using their bodies as living thermostats. When temperatures rise too high, groups of workers fan their wings in coordinated patterns to create airflow. When it's too cold, they cluster around the fungus gardens, generating heat through muscle contractions. This living climate control system maintains temperatures within half a degree of optimal levels. The fungus they cultivate, known as Leucoagaricus gondulaphorus, produces specialized structures called gondolidia. These are essentially fungal fruits designed specifically to feed ants. They're packed with proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids in exactly the proportions young ants need to develop properly. It's as if the fungus has become a living, breathing factory that produces custom-designed ant food. The nutritional precision is staggering. The gondolidia contain amino acid profiles that match exactly what developing ant larvae require at different stages of growth. They produce different types of gondolidia for different castes of ants, worker food that's high in carbohydrates for energy, and reproductive food that's rich in proteins and lipids. It's personalized nutrition at a level that human food science is only beginning to achieve. This agricultural revolution happened 50 million years before humans figured out how to plant seeds. If this doesn't deserve a share with your friends, I don't know what does. The implications of this ancient partnership extend far beyond the ant colony walls. Leafcutter ants are among the most important herbivores in tropical forests, sometimes consuming more vegetation than all the mammals in their ecosystem combined. A single large colony can strip 450 pounds of fresh leaves daily. To put this in perspective, that's like a medium-sized city consuming the equivalent of a small forest every single day. This massive plant harvesting creates a cascade of effects that most people never consider. The selective pressure ants place on plants has driven the evolution of countless chemical defenses. Many of the compounds we use for medicines, from antibiotics to cancer treatments, evolved as plants' weapons against these tiny farmers. Every time you take an aspirin or benefit from a plant-derived drug, you're benefiting from millions of years of chemical warfare between plants and ants. The pharmaceutical implications go deeper than most people realize. Researchers have identified over 200 unique compounds in plants that specifically target leafcutter ant biology. These compounds are now being tested as treatments for human diseases, with several showing promise against antibiotic-resistant infections and certain types of cancer. The evolutionary pressure from ants has essentially turned tropical rainforests into massive drug discovery laboratories. The fungus cultivated by these ants has also revealed secrets that are revolutionizing biotechnology. Scientists studying the ant-fungus partnership have discovered enzymes that break down cellulose more efficiently than any industrial process we've created. These discoveries are now being used to develop better biofuels and waste processing systems. The ants essentially solved the problem of converting plant waste into usable energy 50 million years ago, and we're only now beginning to understand how they did it. Companies are investing hundreds of millions of dollars trying to replicate the efficiency of ant fungus gardens. The cellulose-degrading enzymes they've discovered could revolutionize everything from paper production to renewable energy generation. Some estimates suggest that perfecting these biological processes could reduce industrial energy consumption by up to 30%. But perhaps most remarkably, the ants have solved problems that still challenge human agriculture. They maintain their crops without pesticides, yet rarely lose a harvest to disease or pests. They've achieved this through a partnership with bacteria that live on their bodies, producing antibiotics with surgical precision to protect their fungus gardens. These bacterial partners, primarily from the genus Pseudonocardia, coat the ants' bodies in a living antibiotic film that targets specific fungal parasites while leaving the cultivated fungus completely unharmed. The bacteria essentially turn each ant into a walking pharmacy, producing the exact antibiotics needed at exactly the right time and place. This three-way partnership between ants, fungus, and bacteria represents one of the most sophisticated biological systems on Earth. The precision of this biological pest control puts human agricultural methods to shame. What's even more remarkable is that these antibiotics don't lose their effectiveness over time. Unlike human medicine, where bacteria develop resistance to our drugs, the ant-bacterial partnership continuously evolves new compounds to stay ahead of potential threats. It's an arms race that's been running for millions of years, and the ants are still winning. Scientists are now studying this system to develop new approaches for combating antibiotic-resistant diseases in humans. Don't forget to subscribe if you're amazed by these tiny engineers, because we're just getting started. Scale this up, and the numbers become staggering. Across Central and South America, millions of leafcutter colonies are operating simultaneously, each one a complex agricultural operation involving multiple species working in perfect synchronization. The total biomass of these farming operations rivals that of large mammals. If all leafcutter ants were suddenly replaced by cattle producing the same amount of food, you'd need herds covering areas the size of entire countries. Scientists estimate that in Costa Rica alone, leafcutter ants process more plant material annually than all the country's livestock combined. Their collective agricultural output is so massive that it significantly influences carbon cycling, nutrient distribution, and forest composition across vast regions of the Americas. These underground cities can extend 30 feet into the earth, with chambers specifically designed for different functions, nurseries for young ants, fungus gardens at various stages of development, waste disposal areas, and even specialized chambers that regulate airflow and temperature. The largest colonies can house up to 8 million individuals, making them larger than many human cities. The engineering rivals human cities, but with one crucial difference: it's all powered by solar energy captured through photosynthesis and processed through their living crops. The architecture of these colonies is breathtaking in its complexity. Air circulation systems maintain optimal oxygen and carbon dioxide levels throughout the nest. Drainage systems prevent flooding during heavy rains. Temperature regulation systems keep the fungus gardens within the narrow temperature range needed for optimal growth. All of this engineering is accomplished without blueprints, supervisors, or central planning. The ventilation systems are particularly impressive. Ants create networks of tunnels that function as natural air conditioning, using temperature differences to drive airflow. Hot air from the active fungus gardens rises through designated chimneys, while cool air is drawn in through intake tunnels. The system is so efficient that the internal temperature of a colony varies less than 2 degrees Celsius year-round, despite external temperature swings of 30 degrees or more. The structural engineering principles these ants employ rival anything human architects have designed. They create load-bearing chambers that can support tons of soil overhead, water management systems that prevent flooding, and even earthquake-resistant designs that can flex without collapsing. All of this is accomplished using only excavated soil and organic secretions as building materials. The evolutionary arms race between ants and plants has shaped entire ecosystems. Plants have developed increasingly sophisticated chemical defenses, while ants have evolved more precise methods of detecting and processing plant materials. This ongoing battle has been a major driver of biodiversity in tropical forests, contributing to the incredible variety of plant compounds that we're only beginning to understand. Some plants have evolved to produce toxins specifically targeting leafcutter ants, while others have developed physical defenses like waxy coatings that make leaf transport difficult. In response, ants have evolved stronger jaws, better chemical detection systems, and more sophisticated processing techniques. This evolutionary dance has been playing out for millions of years, driving innovation on both sides. The chemical complexity of this ongoing warfare is staggering. Some plants produce compounds that interfere with ant communication, disrupting the pheromone trails they rely on for coordination. Others create false chemical signals that trick ants into avoiding perfectly nutritious leaves. The most sophisticated plant defenses can even trigger alarm responses in ant colonies, causing them to abandon otherwise suitable harvesting sites. What makes this story even more incredible is that it's happening right now, everywhere, all the time. While you've been listening to this, millions of leafcutter ants have continued their ancient work, maintaining agricultural systems that have operated continuously for longer than complex life has existed on land. In the time it takes you to watch this video, thousands of leaves have been harvested, processed, and fed to fungus gardens across the Americas. Every minute of every day, this vast underground agricultural network processes tons of organic matter, supports millions of individual organisms, and maintains the delicate balance of one of Earth's most complex ecosystems. The scale of coordination required is mind-boggling when you consider that it all emerges from the behavior of individuals with brains smaller than sesame seeds. These farmers have achieved something that human agriculture, for all its technological advancement, still struggles with: complete sustainability. Their waste becomes nutrients, their pest control is biological, and their crop yields have remained stable for millions of years without depleting the soil or requiring external inputs. They've created a circular economy that produces zero waste and operates entirely on renewable energy. The sustainability lessons from leafcutter ant agriculture could revolutionize human farming. Their closed-loop systems, biological pest control and renewable energy use represent everything modern agriculture aspires to achieve. Yet these solutions have been operating successfully for millions of times longer than human civilization has existed. The next time you see an ant carrying a piece of leaf, remember you're witnessing a farmer whose ancestors mastered agriculture when the continents were still moving into their current positions. They've been perfecting sustainable food production since before grass existed on Earth, since before flowers bloomed, since before the first bird took flight. Their underground empires continue to thrive beneath our feet, a reminder that the most sophisticated technologies in nature often operate completely outside human awareness, and always have. Before you go exploring your backyard looking for these incredible farmers, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. The natural world is full of civilizations we're only beginning to understand, and trust me, you won't want to miss what we uncover next.